All right. Welcome back to FAWKES News. Big show for you guys today. Got Josh, Dead Leg Media, and Jason Kiefer from One More and I'm Out of Here. This is our long formatted show for the week, covering everything today from the JFK files to this court judge turning a plane around full of Tren de Arguas gang members back to the United States. Again, I want to talk about like what hill are we trying to die on hill here if you're coming from the left. Like, I feel like there's a lot of mountains that are noble and just causes, and you just pick the craziest and most lunatic causes to go all in on. I want to talk about it. Tesla terror attacks. Are they terrorist attacks? Are we in some kind of weather underground style war right now with the left? This is very bizarre. We'll talk about it. We'll put all the facts together. We've got assassination attempts. We've got car bombings. We've got Molotov cocktails. We got a lot of terrorist attacks. And if you put them all together, none of these are actually labeled terror attacks, but I want to bring them all together and give you the totality of it. And it looks pretty bad on paper, but maybe I'm just being hyperbolic. Also, I want to retouch on some of the new information about the voided pardons from Trump, some strategies there. But the big story today are the JFK files, what they mean, and what we're going to see going forward. 80,000 documents, something like that. So a lot to do there. Today's show brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack, shieldbox.com/Wolfpack, and then factormeals.com/Wolfpack50 for 50% off. Let's bring in Dead Leg Media and Jason Kiefer from One More and I'm Out of Here. Boys and girls, this is a live show, meaning that we are live on the YouTubes. We're not live in person, although we do live in person shows at bars, and we have a whole bunch coming up this summer. So keep your calendars clear. But we are live on the YouTube, so we always like to give a shout out to David J, Armory Knight, Mike Dutcher, Wazman 999, Bone Cold, Fleas Austin. As the chats begin to grow, we appreciate everyone that is in here. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing this morning?
Glad I'm not on that list.
Doing well. Weather in Cincinnati's pretty good today, so we'll take it.
All right, good. It was a late night for all of you last night. The three of us, the JFK files did drop, and wow, it was a lot. And I don't know what method you guys took. I just randomly hit the next button, hit the number, and then randomly hit a PDF under that number and just started reading it. If it was interesting, I kept going. What I'm seeing so far in these JFK files is actually, I feel, being downplayed by everyone, to include some of my favorite podcast hosts. They're downplaying this. Maybe that's part of the strategy, but I find some of these documents wildly fascinating. Have we become a society where if it's not what we expected, then we just write it off? Meaning, if it's Christmas and you didn't get the exact present you wanted, the one thing you wanted, is the whole Christmas season a wash?
Well, I think that's part of it. I think we all have expectations of what it should be. And if you're going to read all 80,000 documents, I think then you may find what you're looking for. But yeah, I told you guys earlier, Joe Billy 007 had to go into the office today. So I was like, well, I'm going to need you to use their printer and print out all 80,000 documents and make sure it's in a binder next to my slippers when you get home.
I find historically that these records are extremely fascinating. I mean, maybe I'm borderline going to be obsessed. It's just hard because we are starting the Holtzclaw Project officially today. We're starting the Holtzclaw Project. I will be heading into North Raleigh to meet up with the investigator on the case. Law enforcement, still currently in a law enforcement investigator, author of the book, bring it up here, Murder on Campus, the professor, the cop in North Carolina's most notorious cold case, a case that they solved, a cold case that they solved writing this book, Brian Santana and Cameron Santana brothers. And I'll be meeting with him to start officially working on the Free Holtzclaw Project. And so hundreds of hours of documents, video footage of the investigation, the whole 9 yards to, all of this to prove that Daniel Holtzclaw did not clerically did not, but undeniably did not commit any of these crimes. But now I'm stuck on these JFK files because what was going on in Cuba, what the CIA actually does, we all kind of knew what the CIA does, but these documents really, it's like you're reading a movie and you can kind of tell where some of these movies actually get their scripts from.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely opens doors that you thought were cracked, but now the doors are blown wide open.
And it really showed to me that the CIA must have their hand in Hollywood. They absolutely do, because a lot of the things that I was reading last night, annoyingly to my wife reading, and she's like, you have to put it down. Like, you have to come and eat, and then we have to get the kids ready for bed. And I'm like, one more page, one more PDF, yeah, let me keep going, woman. I'm kidding. I would never say that to my wife. But as I'm reading this, I'm like, whoa, this is where these movies actually come from. Josh, why don't you bring up some of the more telling documents that you were able to find last night? I know you and I were sharing some. I think the one document, the first document, now again, I found these at random. So this one I found on page, I believe 109, and it was PDF, like it was the third or fourth one down. I did take a screenshot with my phone if you want to go back and read it yourself, but we'll put it up here on the slides for you right now. Go ahead and do that if you would, Josh.
Which one? Which one do you want?
This one would be it's on page 109, and I believe it's 10064. The PDF that reads, yes, it's 10064, and it's the one that talks about Cuba freaking out that the assassination was in fact going to be blamed on them, that this was the start of the war. Are you able to read that on your end?
The reference is made of the office memorandum from the chief from avoiding memorandum, Chicago, dated November 26, 1963, under file number 21611 tax 0. We get down, we're going to go through all this. I'm just going to get towards the end. For the information, all of the officers concerned advised on November 26th that he had heard one, I can't read the first name, allegedly had been attempting to negotiate the sale of machine guns and ammunitions to S, and I can't read the last name, that allegedly made contact the day before the assassination of President John F. Kennedy that, quote, we have plenty of money. Our now backers are Jews. As soon as we or they take care of Kennedy.
Right. Yeah. they get rid of Kennedy after the attack. Document 10064 on page 109. By the way, these pages aren't, it's not page 109. It's literally page 109 of the website archives. And then each page has like 30 pages. I mean, well, no, like 3,000 pages of documents, but PDFs. They have like multiple PDFs that have multiple pages. So you have to go to 109 and then go to PDF file 10064. That's what I was doing. I was just randomly spinning the globe and putting a dot and saying, this is where we're going to go. And, man, some of it is so fascinating when it gets into Vietnam, the Viet Cong, the things that the CIA was setting up with the Vietnamese and Cambodia and the way they were playing this out. I mean, somebody needs to write a book. Some historian needs to go through these files and write a book. I don't have the time or this is something that would get me in trouble, because I would be so obsessed that my kids would be much like the Biden family kids, just horrible addicts and just, no daddy figure whatsoever. And we're going to talk about that because I'm not just being mean to the Biden family, but it is a topic of the news today because they did lose their Secret Service. We're going to talk about that today. What are some of the other documents that we found very quickly on these JFK files already?
The one thing that sticks out to me, there's all of these different notes throughout this. So throughout the years, every time something was reviewed, so there's a date 3/17/65 that's on this one. There's a March 30/65. There's a March 24th. There's all these different dates. But one of the things is a stamp that says the CIA has no objection to declassification or release of this CIA information in this document, except the bracketed information. And what would be the bracketed information that they want to redirect? Anything that has anything that ties the CIA with Israel intelligence or Israel.
Yes.
Why?
All of it. Yeah, they are very, everything that anytime it starts to talk about Israel, redactions, and it's out. You know what I mean? And that there's your big conspiracy findings now. AI, through AI generators, came back with no conspiracy breakthroughs. Wow, but we know that AI can be trained and that we can create and then also AI works in a way is that if you're not being specific and asking the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers. I think it is kind of one of those things where you need to read through it yourself. And I would like to put out a challenge to you. You guys know I love the quote from G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle. I truly believe that. If you're a fan of this show, I challenge you to spin the globe, put your pen where it lands, start to read. If you come up with something, it's like gold panning. If you get in the creek and you start shoveling around and you don't get any gold, we move on to the next spot. But it's super fun and super addicting. We love gold panning. I want you to try this with these documents. You can go, how do we find these documents?
The National Archives.
Right. And if you type in JFK files, it'll be the first thing that pops up. I challenge you to just do a pin the dot. And if you find something, screenshot it, screenshot the page number, the PDF, DM me personally, Eric TANSEY Official on Instagram, or you can go to our Last Call Instagram page. Make sure you're following Last Call, and you can send the DM there to Josh at Dead Like Media. But we want to see what you guys find, because here's the thing. A lot of news outlets are not going to come through this. They're going to use AI, or they're going to use 15 of their employees and their staff that at the end of the day may not know what even they're looking for, right? Some cameraman that's not really into politics, not saying that a cameraman's not smart, much smarter than I am in a lot of fields, but he might not be putting the ties together as somebody who's red-pilled. And so, I think this is a fun experiment if you get bored, if you want something to do other than watching pornography or playing video games, you can go through this, because 80,000 pages, things are going to get missed, but just the historical significance, and maybe it's not a conspiracy breakthrough, but it has some kind of historical relevance that's really, truly fascinating. And that's what I'm so blown away with in the media is they're just downplaying the significance of these documents because there's no, golden ticket, but we still have the chocolate. It's still really freaking good. And, I saw a quote on a skateboarding page that said, I've come to realize in my teenage years, this guy's got a lot of wisdom, mind you. He's in his teenage years, that skateboarding doesn't have a future. This broke my heart, because if you're in skateboarding, or if you're in something for the future, then why are you in it to begin with? Skateboarding is supposed to be fun. Skateboarding is supposed to be testing yourself and your own abilities and pushing yourself further and further, pushing your own boundaries, overcoming your own fears. That's what skateboarding is about. Skateboarding is not about the future. Skateboarding is about right now. And so, it reminds me of kind of that, with the with this whole media thing. So I challenge you guys to go through the archives and see what you find. Have a historical journey, enjoy the journey. It's not so much about the future. It's about what we're uncovering here, and the historical significance and learning of what our Central Intelligence Agency actually does. And maybe that is why media is downplaying this, because they don't want you to actually redo. They want you to be discouraged from what you're going to see. I mean, we're talking about landmine seashells to take down Castro. We're talking about using prostitutes to spy on people. We're talking about putting prostitutes in place in Vietnam in certain areas to distract troops from certain activity. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about some real diabolical shit that they were doing back in the 60s and 70s. And I just think it's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it gives you concrete evidence of what, again, like I said earlier, what you thought was probably happening. But now you have documents from the government that say, this is what we did. And all of that, all of those pieces coincide into this huge travesty that happened in our country. So it's very interesting.
And we're getting a look behind the curtain at the CIA of this one thing, this one case. Right. There's all these other things that are going on at the same time, but this is this one case, and how crazy it was back in the 60s. This everything that's going on. Think about what's going on right now. You don't think that they were that balls deep with the media in the 60s, that they're not balls deep with them now? That the media, there's a reason why they don't want to report on it, because you're complicit in it. You don't want to wave the flag, go, hey, we were involved in this too. We helped cover this up too. We didn't tell the truth on this too. we misled you guys on this too. Yeah, they don't want to be involved in that. The other thing, one of the big things that come out of here is every time that these go up for review, everybody's got to put their signatures and like their like what they want to put on it. There was one here back from the 90s that said Senator Biden, quote, "Dear Senator Biden, you are a traitor," end quote.
Right?
So that's from
like what a nugget. What a nugget of information.
This is a Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Justice memorandum recorded from 9/16 of 1994 that Joe Biden was a traitor.
Yeah. Right. And then I think, wasn't he, didn't he die in a plane crash? After saying that?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
honestly,
we can go back.
It's,
Here's another.
I want to get it too far off. The Underhill.
Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up. I was just about to bring up the Underhill files in the PDF.
That's a whole thing that in itself, because how many cases have we reported on someone committed suicide?
Right.
Now, I'm going to say someone who is right-handed took a gun with their left hand and shot themselves behind, think of how hard and difficult it would be to do this. This guy supposedly knew about what was going on, had information, was working this investigation, and was getting ready to blow the whistle on this. And miraculously had a suicide. How convenient.
Let's talk about the Underhill case really quick. I actually brought this article up from the Mint that's already covering this. This was published. This was published today, 19 March. And so let me read this. JFK files a newly declassified file. This is coming from the Mint. JFK files a newly declassified file on the JFK assassination released late Tuesday by President Donald Trump led United States administration. Okay, we already know all that. Let's go further down. Here we go. This is a quote. The day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. These are coming from these PDF files, by the way. He left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends' houses in New Jersey. The unredacted documents show. The document describes Gary Underhill's behavior as agitated, adding that he feared for his life. Now, Gary Underhill worked for the CIA. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination, he confided, and he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months after this, the CIA operative was found dead in his Washington residence. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment. The coroner ruled it suicide, says the JFK files. As for the JFK files, the friends whom Gary Underhill went to described him as sober and shook. They say he attributed the Kennedy murder to a CIA clique, which was carrying on a lucrative racket in gun running, narcotics, and other contraband, and manipulating political intrigue to serve their own ends. It further notes that Kennedy supposedly got wind that something was going on and was killed before he could blow the whistle on it. Again, how is this not bombshell? Like, why? So how is this information not like some kind of paradoxical, piece of information that we should all be excited to learn? Why is this on the Mint? Why isn't this headline news? Although the friends had always known Underhill to be perfectly rational and objective, they at first didn't take his account seriously. I think the main reason was, explains the husband, that we couldn't believe that the CIA could contain a corrupt element every bit as ruthless and more efficient as the mafia, the file says. The newly released JFK files note that the suicide angle to Gary Underhill's death is by no means convincing. It says that the location of the wound is behind his ear. His body was found by a writing collaborator, Asher Bynes of the New Republic. He had been shot behind the left ear, and an automatic pistol was under his left side. Odd, says Bynes, because Underhill was right-handed. Underhill obviously had been dead several days. Gary Underhill's chilling story is hardly implausible, as a spy apparatus the CIA is honeycombed with self-contained cliques operating without any real central control, it says. That kind of reminds me of that movie Sicario. JFK files, unredacted documents related to the 1963 assassination. Of the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy, related after Donald Trump's order. More than 1,100 files consisting of over 31,000 pages were posted on the National Archives. So again, that was one of the bigger things that has already come out of this from media outlets, but everybody, to include right-wing and left-wing podcasters, independent journalists, have, without reading this, again, some of my favorite podcasts that I listen to, without reading this, admittedly say that this is kind of a flop. It's another letdown. That doesn't make sense to me, because if you haven't read it, how do you know? Where are you getting your information that it's a flop? You're getting it from somebody else who's probably getting it from somebody else, who's probably getting it from somebody else. And that is the problem with journalism and the CIA propaganda that is being put out. I encourage each and every one of you to please go and read this document, and then let's do this, Josh. I want to set up a Patreon that says JFK Files, and I want to go through a collection of all of our fans. By the way, our Patreon is $3 a month. It's less than a cup of coffee. You can hear TANSEY Time, which is a very personal, in-depth story of my time in special operations, going through the Special Forces Assessment Selection, going through the Special Forces School, and then eventually leaving the military and going into law enforcement. It's a very truthful telling. It's not grandiose in any way, shape, or form. And it all leads up to the book, Piglet, a seriously funny true story. So on the Patreon, I want to take the gatherings of what our fans send us that they find doesn't have to be conspiracy revealing. I want interesting factoids that you guys find that the Central Intelligence Agency was involved in these documents. And then I want to talk about some of the cool findings, the historical findings on Patreon. So that would be a great little Patreon segment for us. This reminds me, and I want to take a quick commercial break and it's not a commercial so much as this is entertaining. It's really entertaining, actually. If you don't read something and you make a review or a judgment on it, is that a fair judgment? My book, Piglet, a seriously funny true story, is officially out to ARC readers, which is an author review clubs. ARC readers, it's the publishing house sends the book out to professional readers who then rate and review. I've gotten some really great reviews. I'm going to put this asset up really quick and just read you an example. So this one comes from a lady named Sarah Morrissey. I'm not exaggerating. 5 stars, by the way. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you I was in the first chapter of this book and immediately went to Amazon and pre-ordered a hard copy. As someone who spent almost 23 years in uniform, I loved, 3 loves there, this book. I laugh so hard because it is so relatable, all in capital letters. The author's humor is spot on. I have at least 20 quotes written down from this book because they just resonate with me so much. Quote, I did not sign up for this. Quote, you're either dealing with bad people or good people on their worst day. Truer words have never been spoken. I want to share this book with so many people and plan to add it to our library, which my favorite field training officer, now lieutenant, maintains at our local police department. I highly, highly recommend this book if you are looking for a light read and hysterical laughter. Most importantly, it does offer a realistic view into what officers deal with every day. The book is not always funny at times. It is tragic. It is heartbreaking. But again, that's what makes it so real. 5 stars, and I truly hope the author has additional stories hidden somewhere that he can share in another book. I also love the cover. I want to read one more quote. There's many of them. This is another 5 star. A tome to rival Mark Baker's Cops, written for this generation, is what I would expect from a dust jacket review for this autobiography. This book was my first from either of these authors, and it leaves me ready for more. The manuscript reads like a narration to an episode of Cops, told in the first person from the real life accounts of TANSEY's time in police service. The vignettes will leave you laughing, others crying, some stunned with the author's grief. All of them will leave you changed. No matter your opinion of police or policing in America, this book will leave you thinking differently about what you know. The tales ring true and are written in unvarnished words, which leave the reader walking the same fine line of wanting more of the rush and action, but also exhausted of the pain and the politics. TANSEY and Palmisano are engaging storytellers who strike just the right balance and a genre with few entrants. Pig Latin is equally a must-read for those in an adjacent to a profession as well as ordinary citizens. This honest review is provided in connection with my receipt of an author's an ARC copy through NetGalley, provided by the generous staff of Atria Books. So I was told that when the ARC readers get the book, to not focus on the reviews, because ARC readers are nerds that will review 300 books a month. They skim through the books, they review them briskly and quickly, and they're often going to give you probably somewhere between 3 stars. Some will give you 1 star if they're really grammar nerds, and so I wouldn't focus. I have 4.64 5-star rating, 4.64, which is very, very high. And the 1-star rating that I have, I want to read this to you. And this goes back to what I was saying. If you don't read a document and you make a judgment on it, are you really making a fair judgment? And that's why I have a problem with all my favorite podcasts right now, admitting that they haven't read through the files or even attempted to read through the files, but they are saying with confidence, with bravado, that this is nothing, that it's a flop. So this one says, this is from Atlantis. She's reviewed 164 books. She says, shelved as I could not finish. Have I watched his comedy? No. Will I watch his comedy now? I thought so, but also no. I think the gimmicky title and book cover will actually serve the book well. He might draw in readers, but I'm unsure he will keep them. The publisher is also a major attraction since it's a popular and renowned publishing house. I got a few pages in and was enjoying the book. I think for as much as I read, he gives great perspective into the ups and downs as a police officer, and he's very well written. But I made the mistake of Googling the author. Maybe I shouldn't have requested this book without looking up the author. Now, normally that's not something I do, but I wish I had. Since the book says he's a comedian, I Googled him and found his Instagram. I was expecting to see some memes or some stand-up videos. Unfortunately, though, I go to his Instagram and I see a video about America fucking up Canada. It was a hockey video, and hashtags about how Trudeau must go. All this coming from an American? He makes a lot of jokes about America taking over Canada. So I looked more into his post. He calls things like no geek gay. He uses the hashtag MAGA. Posts videos of Trump and of Fox News. Stitches videos of women just to make fun of them. I could keep going, but I don't think it's worth it. Just not my kind of comedy. Interesting, though, he's pro-Israel. I don't know where she got that from, because I'm pro-America, actually. I'm pro, let's not start any more bullshit. And he's into Brazilian jiu-jitsu and fishing, which I like. I am not into fishing. I actually hate fishing. I worked on a deep-sea fishing boat. I hate fishing. I don't know where she's getting this. Let's look at some facts. She's still going. Former police, former military, officer in North Carolina. Me, reviewer, Canadian, female, mid-20s. I don't want to shit on this book, though. And while I could finish it and put aside my thoughts on him as a person and his social media posts and probably end up liking this book, I'd rather support someone else and read other books, which is why I'm just posting this instead of finishing and rating it, since I was provided an art copy. So you might be thinking, why would I request this book? Simple answer is, I know a lot of cops and I have read many memoirs, military books, policing books, and so on. So I thought I might enjoy it. And I was at first, but I can't get over who I'd be supporting if I read, and that's on me, the author. Might recommend this book to my boyfriend and other friends, though. It's just not for me, but she gave me a 1-star review.
So I put that in the ChatGPT to summarize it, and it said she liked your book, but she also is a single cat lady.
Yeah, 37 cats
from Canada.
Oh gosh. Well, there you go. There are some readings, some from the book. If you guys would like to pre-order the book right now, screenshot that you pre-order the book and I will send you a bookmarker. I want to keep things easy. There's other ways to earn the bookmarks. You have to do some research on how to do that. But it's not set in stone. So lots of things that you can do. If you join the Patreon, you can get more bookmarks, these custom bookmarks by first responder author Jonathan Bates. But the one way to collect all four of these awesome bookmarks, I don't know why there's only 3 here in my hand, is that if you buy a copy for an officer. So if you bought one for yourself and screenshotted it, you get this bookmark right here of me tasing a girl in the vagina, which is a story in the book. But if you buy another book and you screenshot it and you say that you're giving it to a first responder, you're gifting it to his first responder, you will get all 4. So hook up a first responder. And when I say first responder, that goes for firefighters and 911 dispatchers. So I'm just kidding. Now I have a huge respect for 911 dispatchers. No. I'm kidding, Jason. I also respect the firefighters. Jesus. God,
I was waiting for it.
Oh my gosh.
I was born at night, but not last night, Eric.
Loren says, I sent you a screenshot on Facebook. Yes, I have hundreds, Loren. I have hundreds of them. I am putting them into a document, and then I've been signing these and trying to get them out. I'm trying to get them all out in one file swoop. So I'm giving it maybe another week or so, and then I'll get them out there. But you guys will be getting, I will be putting out on the email list as well that I have sent them when they come out. And then, I'm just giving people time because I don't want to send one bookmark and then the person sends me back a picture of them buying it. Now I've got to send out a separate one. So I'm just giving some time for people to be like, never mind, I bought one for a first responder. Give me all 4. That thing. And, some people are like, well, I don't know really any first responders. That's okay. If you buy the separate book and just go to the PD, your local PD, and put it on the front desk, that counts. You can knock on the car window of a cop at some point and hand them a copy of the book. You could, be very gentle. Don't reach into your jacket and be like, book, bam, 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 which would be great. Which would be great for me, right? Because it's like, police officer shoots man trying to give him a book. Allegedly, this book was Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story. And then all of a sudden, your death makes me rich and famous. I'm for it.
You want to be on Fox News. That's a way for you to get on Fox News right there.
There it is. Okay, let's get into the next segment here. Donald Trump argues with a court order, a judge over a court order that wasn't really a court order because it wasn't. As I read this, I don't see where it was written on paper, right? Like I can't go serve a warrant without a warrant in hand. I don't know how you talk to a plane via the skies and you just tell it to turn around after it's in international waters. I guess that's why it's going to go to a Supreme Court. But here's the bigger question. This plane was full of Tren de Agua. Does anybody know what Tren de Agua even stands for?
Tren de Agua. It's the train of Aragua.
The train of Aragua. Train of Aragua, which is actually, surprisingly enough, the same train that I was running on Folk Around and Find Out's mom in the live chats.
That'll be available on Patreon as well.
Okay, so Tren de Agua, very violent gang, I take it.
Yeah, and shockingly, looking up some factoids, it's really not that old of a gang. 2014. Bloods and Crips have been around for a lot longer.
Right. Yeah.
So
now, in my experience, Mexican gangs, I've dealt with a lot of Mexican gangs. What's different about Mexican gangs is they don't highlight themselves for attention. Yeah, they've got the tattoos on their face, which makes that very easy. It's like the mental illness nose trinket that goes like the bull ring. I love it because it lets you know, like, this person has some kind of mental illness that they're suffering from. You should tread lightly, not pick on them. Makes things very simple. But other than just having all the facial tattoos, they don't really do a lot of things to bring attention on themselves. Sometimes, like, I knew all the Bloods and Crips gang members with tattoos on their face, knew them by name, had their pictures on the wall. But when I would arrest a Mexican gang member, I'm like, how come I've never seen you before? Like, where the fuck did you come from? So they do a very good job of not limelighting themselves that much in the public. So this gang, very violent. Go ahead.
So it originated in the Tocoron, Tocoron prison. And that's where they were running things from. And I found this interesting as well. The gang largely controlled the prison, where it ran a zoo, swimming pool, disco, restaurant, and bar, all in this prison. And so
Airbnb.
But they essentially ran everything from there, had their disciples out running amok. And then as crime wasn't paying in Venezuela, that's when they started shipping out everywhere else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And now we're shipping them back.
Irony.
So here, this isn't that big of a case to go into. I mean, I'll go with what BBC says just briefly, really quick. Judge questions White House refusal to turn around deportation flights. A U.S. federal judge has questioned why the Trump administration failed to obey his order halting the deportations of alleged Venezuelan gang members. James Boasberg, the top federal judge in Washington, D.C., ordered deportation flights to be turned around Saturday night. Now, I have this media asset here for you.
Before we get too far, I want to just question: did any of you guys vote for this judge?
Right, but we voted for the
all right.
president.
So the president, who has the power to make an executive order, then some random judge that was appointed gets to come in and say, no.
By somebody weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A judge has more power than the president of the United States.
And this is something that got popular during the Obama administration, and it just keeps going, where it's automatic. You have these, court-ordered, low-level judge, almost like addendums, memorandums that make zero sense. Again, not having something on paper, on court record, in hand after you're already in international weathers. I'm not turning that plane around. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I mean, of course, a pilot doesn't know. He's a pilot, right? He knows a lot, but he doesn't know a lot about this. So I get in his shoes from his perspective why he's like, oh shit, this sounds serious. But knowing what I know, I would be like, bro, now get fucked. Like, you don't have the paper on you. I'm already gone. Like, not turning this shit around. President.
Did you see the tweet from the El Salvador president?
No, what did it say?
It said, oopsie, they're already here.
Oopsies. So let me go on to this. Agency personnel carefully vetted each individual alien to ensure they were, in fact, members of the Tren de Aragua. Serena said in a declaration, ICE did not simply rely on social media posts, photographs, or the alien displaying gang-related hand gestures or tattoos alone, which, by the way, add those together, you've got a freaking gang member, by the way. Serena also conceded that many of those Venezuelan men who are now being held in a supermax prison in El Salvador do not have criminal records in the U.S., but that is because they have only been in the U.S. for a short period of time. The lack of criminal record does not indicate they pose a limited threat. Oh, so if you're a terrorist and you've committed heinous terrorist style crimes, let's say you're Russian who's committed war crimes. A Russian who has butchered tons of Ukrainians. Since the left loves terrorists, hates Russians. Loves Venezuelan gang members, hates Russians. It seems like a little Russophobia to me. Right. I don't know. Let's just going to go out on a limb here. The way that they treat terrorists, the way that they treat Venezuelan gang members, not the same as the way they treat Russian soldiers. So let's say you have a Russian soldier who butchers somebody, comes over to the United States illegally, comes to the United States, and they're like, well, I don't think we should send them back to Russia because they haven't killed any Ukrainians here, or they haven't committed, any war crimes here. It just doesn't make sense. What a hill to die on. If I'm a leftist, right? And by the way, the Democrat approval rating is at an all-time low by a CNN poll going back further than 30 years. A CNN poll dating back than 30 years says that the Democrat Party approval rating is somewhere around like 23%. You can fact check me on that if you'd like, Josh. CNN poll of the Democratic approval rating right now. Whereas Trump's approval rating is somewhere around like 78%, 76%, something like that. And when I read the article a few days ago, and we know that the approval rating is diminishing on the Democrat level because the Democrats are falling apart. And this isn't just some kind of right-wing, left-wing juxtaposition. This is objectively, they're in shambles. Like, you have a Kamala Harris controversy going on. You have Chuck Schumer being forced to resign. By the way, the same Chuck Schumer that you guys were all praising 13, 14 months ago. Remember that you guys were all the same people that were saying that Joe Biden was cognitively good. He's okay. He's great. And then he has one debate and all of a sudden it's all falling apart. Now you don't know who to run. You put Kamala Harris in unconstitutionally. Nobody gets to vote on it. She loses insanely. She squanders like one of the most expensive campaign trails of all time. And and Democrats are left very unhappy, to include the Democrat press corps, who has completely flipped to the right. And if you have you heard Lisa Liu's Lean's episode here that Josh just did, or John just did on this on the audio version of Fox, absolutely stunning. One of the best podcast episodes we've had on here. So go back 2 episodes, you'll see it. John Bates, I think it's 37 minutes long. Absolutely incredible breakdown of what she had to say about who's actually running this country. Somebody who was attached to Joe Biden, she says, who was in control, and that Hunter Biden was frolicking around the White House as if it was his own personal playground, and that he was sitting in at meetings that he did not have security clearance to be sitting in these meetings. And Jill Biden was the same way, and that it was evident that Joe Biden wasn't running the country. And then I show you yesterday's episode, the video where the Speaker of the House of Representatives says that he confronted Joe Biden about a bill, that an executive order that Joe Biden himself signed. I played this video yesterday for you guys, that he signed, that cut off natural gas to the allies during the Russia-Ukraine war. And he said, this is like greatly helping Russia out. Your executive order is giving Russia so much more power. It's killing our allies, and it's killing our own personal economy. And Biden's like, I didn't sign anything like that. I didn't sign that. And he was like, no, I have it right here. And then, so that was back in January, and we covered that here on FAWKES News. And then this week, the big news is that all these things were signed by autopen and not by Joe Biden himself. And so with all of the totality here, we have a very rogue government that we're dealing with. And that's why we're having to clean house.
Well, if you go, like, just think of the 2 things that we just pointed out. One case, we have a president gives you an executive order to follow the laws that are already on the books. Like, hey, don't come here illegally. We have immigration laws. And then if you come here illegally, all right, we're going to get rid of you. So you have that side of it. And then you have a judge comes out and says, well, I'm going to stop that. On the other side of the coin, we've got Joe Biden's auto-pinning everything. Everything.
Or is it Joe Biden? Is it Joe Biden really auto-pinning it? It doesn't look like it.
And 0 questions. No one's asking any questions. And if you do ask a question, are you a conspiracy theorist, or why are you questioning? That's really what's happening. He's really good. He doesn't have he's not shitting the bed, and he's not doing any of that stuff. He for sure finishes his ice cream. He can walk up a flight of stairs. We don't have to have someone walk him around.
Again, like, the things that the hills that the Democrat party is the party, not the Democrats, right? Not my leftist friends. The hill that your party, that you need to abolish, like, all of your leadership and your party, because they're doing a horrible job. But the hills that they are trying to die on don't make much sense. Like the Hunter Biden laptop makes no sense. That's not a hill that you should die on. Hunter Biden is not newsworthy. Bringing light to Hunter Biden not having Secret Service anymore, one, is bizarre, because, like, if I lost my Secret Service, I wouldn't want anybody to know. And 2, Hunter Biden is a diabolical piece of shit who got his widowed brother's wife addicted to cocaine. He suffers from his own addiction. He's an abuser. He's, a womanizer. He's all the things that you don't want in a man. He's a toxic dude, and yet you rally around him as if he's some kind of hero. Actually trying to read about Hunter Biden's past from media outlets going back 2 years is nauseating, because they come up with an excuse for everything nasty, and the multiple felonies that he has. The way that he was dishonorably discharged from the Navy is despicable. The losing his FBI credentials because he's drunk, the stealing of a vehicle and leaving his credentials in a vehicle with the cocaine, living in and out of homeless camps and doing all sorts of I mean, this guy has no redeemable qualities, to include banging his widowed brother's wife and getting her addicted to cocaine, living in their house with their kids, to where their kids said that they were living with parents that were suffering from addiction, and that they couldn't even get their parents off the couch, and that they were finding drug paraphernalia and coming across. Their children were finding their drug paraphernalia everywhere. So this guy's brother's wife, his brother dies, and he lives up his brother's legacy by crashing in his house, banging his widowed wife, and getting her addicted to cocaine in front of his children. Absolutely diabolical. I don't understand. Now you're trying to bring home Venezuelans, and that is the hill you're going to die on. It's crazy. The only way I get a good night's sleep at night is through GhostBed, ghostbed.com/wolfpack50. Sleep so good, it's scary. You don't need to do drugs if you have a ghost bed, because you could just be addicted to your ghost bed, or as I'm addicted to my ghost bed pillow and my massage topper. I'm a 40-year-old man who trains Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, very tough on the body. If I didn't have a massage topper by ghost bed, I don't know if I would be training the way that I have been for almost a year and 4 months now, consistently training. So I would say, please go to ghostbed.com and invest in your mental health and mental health and wellness. Invest in it today by getting a good night's sleep. That is the number one thing that can fix, or at least is on the path to fixing. And guess what the side effects are to good sleep?
Everything's awesome.
Everything is awesome. You know what I mean? We don't have to worry about like your heart stopping, your brain exploding, your eyeballs bleeding, your dick dripping out blood instead of urine, shitting out semen out of your butthole, or all the other things that these people try to prescribe you to fix your mental health and mental wellness. You could literally start by just getting a ghost bed or a massage topper or a pillow or all of the above. Because listen, if I'm in that kind of if it's between getting a good, fixing my mental health and wellness, and then shitting out sperm out of my butthole and blood out of my wiener, I'm going to go with the whole sleep first. Second, I'm going to fix my diet. factormeals.com/wolfpack50 are meal plans that will help you get in great shape. Look at me. I'm down 27 pounds. I'm not taking any shots to the stomach that have side effects like shitting sperm out of your butthole or anal leakage out of your eardrums. I am just putting good food into my body, calorie conscious, protein heavy meals directly down the gullet, healthy snacks like shakes. These are chef prepared, fresh, never frozen meals delivered right to your door. You don't have to eat lunch like a peasant in your first responder kitchen. You don't have to have your bologna sandwiches and your peanut butter and jellies that's bled through the white bleached bread that has all the preservatives and the peanut oils and all the crazy stuff and the jellies and the jams. You could literally get a fresh, never frozen meal of chicken and ranch and bacon and beans and green beans, all these other things. You can kind of pick and choose your meals. You want to do breakfast and dinner, lunch and breakfast, lunch and dinner. Factor Meals has a plan for you. It's so much easier than driving to the store, buying these things individually, chopping them all up, trying to separate them through these Pyrex and Pytex dishes. It's as easy as simply going online, hit Factor Meals, pick your meals, and guess what? If you forget to do it the next week, they just send you the same thing. And that's awesome. So you don't have to always be thinking you're always going to have lunch, you're always going to have breakfast, whatever it is that you need, you're going to have it. Head over to factormeals.com. Use that promo code wolfpack50, get you 50% off your first order. All right. Tesla attacks. Going back to the left, dying on these ridiculous hills. Here we have another guy who has donated more money, more charity than just about anybody else. He has a record-breaking charity donations. He's also gone to space, which we're going to talk about, and rescued astronauts, which, I don't know, is pretty freaking cool. It's pretty freaking amazing. You hailed this guy as an environment. You don't care about the environment as much as you hate Donald Trump, which I think is laughable. I think it's hilarious. Now, again, in true leftist form, what the left blames the Trump party of doing is what they do on a grandiose scale. So when they accuse J6ers of being violent rioters, and we see that they were in fact not all that violent rioters, they are the ones guilty of the 2020 riots where 25 people died, over almost 2,000 people, 1,800 people were injured and hospitalized, and 2,000 buildings were burnt to the ground. That is what they're guilty of. And that is just in one. That's just the George Floyd riots. We're not even going to talk about the leftists who had the Waukesha drive-through. By the way, if you type in man who crashes through parade, the Waukesha won't even come up. They haven't labeled him as a terrorist, and they won't label him as a liberal, even though he was a leftist, Trump-hating liberal who drove through a crowd of people chanting racial slurs and everything. It's the Waukesha parade. They have literally kept that case under wraps. And if you try to type in man drive through parade, they're just going to give you what happened in Oregon where nobody died. That's bizarre. So the first article is not going to be one that was less than a year prior where a whole bunch of people died, to include kids, and was from some deranged terrorists that you won't label a terrorist. And now we have Molotov cocktails going through bombings of Tesla, is really taking me back to the the Weatherman underground of the 60s and 70s, where violent leftists were Molotov cocktailing, violently rioting. I don't know. I mean, it was 100 and I don't even remember how many riots were with the Weather Underground. Were you familiar with any of that?
It was like over 1,500 bombings within like a couple of years.
It was a lot.
Like,
I mean, it was huge. It was huge.
Yeah.
Again, these peaceful pacifist leftist ideologies, we're not seeing terrorists, but if you type in left-wing terrorist organizations, first thing that comes up is like Wikipedia. The next thing are a couple of different articles. If you type in right-wing terrorists, it's like article for like hundreds of pages of these right-wing extremist groups that really haven't done anything except be white trash, far right-wing extremists that can't afford to leave their trailer parks and are too drunk even when they do come up with a plan. They're so drunk, in fact, that the FBI has to travel to their trailers, buy them a vehicle, buy them weapons, and supply a plan, an actual coherent plan, and a coherent objective to then try to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. And there are more feds involved in the fednapping than there were actual dumb rednecks, which I think there was only 3 rednecks and like 5 FBI agents that tried to carry out. And by the way, a jury of their peers found them not guilty. And the Department of Justice went back and through double jeopardy, they threw all out the window. They said, no, that's not how it works. We're not gonna recognize this jury trial. You're guilty. See ya. Go to prison. And that's where they're still sitting to this day. I think they are scumbags. I think they are probably pieces of shit that don't need to be walking, freely in the great country of the United States. But it took the FBI infiltrating these 3 dumb fucks trailer, and they had to literally pave them a route to commit a crime that it was the FBI's idea to begin with.
So I want to wait. How long before the Whitmore files come out? We had to wait how many years for the JFK files to come out? How many before the Whitmore files come out? I mean, we
the
just
J6 files. I mean, we're talking.
The whole point, or her whole like first 40 minutes of the show was showing like the 50s and 60s, what we were told wasn't going on was actually going on. So now here today, things that are actually going on, they're telling you that's not going on. It's the same thing.
I know Billy Joe wasn't supposed to talk to people down the street, but he gave it all up.
Yep.
Well, I mean, so the J6 bombing, the bombs that were planted was a black female wearing Jordans. Right. You know what I mean? So like, wow, it doesn't really fit the conservative narrative. And then all of a sudden, because it doesn't fit the conservative, we know nothing. They didn't even publicly put out. You had to read those files. It never made mainstream media. And I found this out through Capitol Police investigators, myself personally, doing real journalism. I got this from the horse's mouth. They're like, they're not putting it out. I don't know why. I mean, it's put out to us. We have the memorandum. I'll send it to you. Here it is. And, black female with dreads is what they think. That they believe it's a black female with dreads wearing Jordans. Appears to almost be kind of like homeless or low income. And it's at an odd hour of the night. So very bizarre.
Sure seems also profiling to me.
And then the other pipe bomb, again, going back to well constructed pipe bomb, very complex pipe bomb, so complex that it would take somebody with some kind of training to put a timer on these bombs and everything. But they weren't these people were not capable or smart enough to put dry black powder inside the pipe bombs, and that's why they didn't explode. That's bizarre. And also they find it minutes before that the events are supposed to start, miraculously, that it's been hiding there for 24 hours right in front of a video camera, and a cop just walks by the bench, a Secret Service agent at that walks by a bench, is like, a pipe bomb sitting under the bench that's already been walked through by bomb dogs and everything else. None of it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. But here we are again with these Tesla attacks. It's terrorism. And it should be met with as terrorism. If you're leaving somebody a 1-star review based on their political beliefs, religious beliefs, or color of their skin, or you are bombing their fucking place of business, that is terrorism. That is terrorism.
This is a map of all the different places. You've got Linwood in Seattle. We've got Portland, Salem, Oregon. We got Vegas, Loveland here in Colorado, which is just down the road. I drive past this one all the time. Kansas City. we've got Ongton Mills, we've got North Charleston, Denham, Littleton. These are all the different places. And the one here in Colorado, they've hit that place like 3 or 4 different times. The same person has hit it 3 or 4 different times. And for whatever reason, I'm just going to point out there, when you find the person who does it, if you keep them incarcerated, they're not able to go redo the same thing over and over again.
It's amazing.
Were they incarcerated?
Yeah, then they would let them out. They did.
Let me see some of the pictures of this violent Tesla attack, because they're bizarre. They look like they're from a third world country. And I get it. Photographers are going to zoom in, but I mean, like, this is a big deal, man. Like, this
is Vegas the other day.
A couple $100,000.
And those things, when they burn, if the batteries get involved, I mean, it's
but we don't care about the environment.
Of water that
we don't care about the environment or what damage that these batteries do to the environment, because we hate Donald Trump more than we love the environment.
Exactly. But that's the hill they were going to die on 3-4 years ago when everybody
we loved Donald Trump until he decided to run against the shadow government that we are obsessed with. We loved Tesla. We loved everything that Elon Musk was doing until he started working against the shadow government that we're obsessed with, that we love, the big government that we really want to empire, the industrial military complex that we need to control this country. And we hate Elon Musk now because of this, and we hate him more than we love the environment. We also hate Elon Musk because he's rescuing people from a space station. Before we go to that, woman arrested after explosives. Read that for us real quick. Is that a woman?
This is woman arrested after explosives discovered at Tesla leadership. This is the one here, Leveling, Colorado. This is the woman in question.
Has it got an Adam's apple?
Yeah, her penis is probably one of the things that poses a problem with her being a woman. But that one's the one that's here locally. The man who literally, he has a company that doesn't build cars that pollute the environment. He's literally like, he can't suck that cock anymore of the climate change people. He can't get it out of his mouth anymore. And in return,
there was going to be a mandate by 2035 that everything was going to be electric. There were going to be no more internal combustion engines, and all these left wingers jumped on it.
Yes, they've done that for California.
Right.
I love this. This was a story that we did cover months back. Armory Knight brings it back up. He says, what about the RV that exploded, that destroyed the voting machines, and recounts couldn't happen? That happened in Washington, I believe, right? Washington State, if I'm not mistaken. I remember covering that story way back when. I don't know if I remember it being an RV, but I do remember covering the story of them firebombing multiple in 2 different counties. One that was a 50-50 county that was 50% red, 50% blue, and the other one was a blue county. So, it's the leftists that are trying, when they start to sway right, all of a sudden these leftist terrorists, the real terrorists, again, what the left is accusing the Trump party of doing, they are the ones that are actually doing it on a grand scale. So you accuse the right being full of right-wing terrorists. However, you guys are the one firebombing ballots. You guys are the ones flooding out the voter registry, the voter registries. What's that?
It was Washington.
It was Washington. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I mean, we cover a lot of stories on here, so some of it bleeds together. But I remember doing a huge breakdown on how the counties were voting, and they actually had the one county, the blue county, had a record number of pre-votes that were Republican. Like, they had more Republican votes than they'd ever had, and the election hadn't even started yet. They were all the voters who vote, the early voters. So huge Republican turnout. And then they started firebombing, blowing up these things. All right, let's get on to the last story, which is these astronauts brought back to Earth. This is fascinating. It's phenomenal. Dexter Pitts from the book I Am Pitts, from the podcast I Am Pitts, put a beautiful post up on his social medias that said, the funniest thing about Elon Musk returning these astronauts is seeing how many flat earthers there are. And which I responded, I'm 60-40. I'm 60% sure that the Earth is round and that we're being told the truth, but I'm 40% like, maybe some of this is bullshit. Let me know. What are you in the chats? Let me know in the YouTube comments briefly For the next 5 minutes here, I want to know where are you on is it round, is it flat, and I don't believe that it has to be black and white. Like I think you could be something like 60-40 or 70-30, something like that. I don't think you have to be like an absolutist, right? Because do you know? You don't really know. So are you willing with full conviction to say I'm 100% in that the Earth is round? We're spinning around at X amount of miles an hour. My son actually. We don't talk about this kind of stuff or anything, but we're driving down the road and my son chimes up on one of our longer road trips. He says, Dad, space is cold, right? I said, yeah. And he's like, that airplane that's flying that you can barely see with the chemtrail. I'm just kidding. He didn't say chemtrail. He said, he didn't say chemtrail, but he says way up there. He's like, is it cold up there? And I said, yeah, it's cold up there. And he's like, and if the further you move from the equator, the further you are from the sun, right? And I said, yeah. And he's like, and it's cold. And I was like, yep. And he's like, well, then how come when you go up and you're closer to the sun that it's colder? And I was like, damn, I'm sure there's an answer. Has something to do with the air, the lack of air. And he's like, yeah, but you're closer to the sun. And I'm like, look, dude, you just have to ask God when you get to heaven. That's my answer when I don't know.
That's a great canned answer right there.
Just ask Jesus when you get to heaven. He'll know the answer. But anyway, I'd like to know in the chats where you guys are, and I'll go through your answers here in a few minutes. All right, let's go ahead and let's go in this dead leg. Tell me about this rescue. We covered when they were lost. We covered when the politics behind it, the bureaucracy behind it couldn't get them down. When Elon was like, I can go get them right fuck now. And they were like, no, we'd rather leave them up there for months on end. I even talked on that episode about how my greatest fear would be that. Like,
yeah,
I would start, like, I wasn't panicking. Now I'm like, get me the fuck out of space, and I'm having sex. You know what I mean? Like, I'm up there. If I know I can go without sex for a year, if like it's in my head, I could be like, all right, cool, not having sex for a year. At the end of that year mark,
everything.
I wasn't mentally prepared to go any further. I can only imagine, how horny these astronauts would have been. I do have 5 kids with one wife, so I like it.
It's amazing how that office chair got pregnant. I have no idea how.
I'm a horny guy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a mental battle for me. Luckily I have an awesome and amazing wife who makes sure I don't have to battle too hard. She makes sure I'm always happy, and she does a great job. Everything that she does, to include making my dinner, my coffee. I'm kidding. I'm just joking, guys. Jeez. Okay, so tell us about these astronauts briefly.
So the long story short, they went up there and then they got stuck because of the Boeing, their issues. So they came back yesterday, and yesterday we had the lizard people had an actual like delegation waiting for them for coming back to Earth.
It's so cool.
In the formation of dolphins.
The dolphins.
So
what was the book? What was the famous book with the dolphins that talk? Very famous book. Shit.
I was gonna be sarcastic and be like Flipper.
Bebop, Zeebelpuff, or something like that. Somebody help me out.
Dolphin talk? Man and dolphin?
Nah, it's a very famous book. I'll get back with you guys, but Bebop Zeebelborf or something like that was one of the characters in the book. Come on, you guys know this book.
I'm working on it.
The guy goes with outer space, and then like,
shit.
The dolphins are actually like the smartest thing on planet Earth.
They're Googling this and trying to figure it out. I'm now dumber.
Okay.
How to speak dolphin.
It's a very famous book. Anyway, all right. So what is it?
Some of the things that I searched will get me on the watch list. That one will take me off the watch list.
Yeah.
If he's searching that stuff, he's okay.
What amazes me with this whole thing is the fact that those 2 individuals were only supposed to be up there a week in June. And now here we are in March and they're home. I mean, that's the shit that space, it's fascinating, scary, but the fact that we can do this and the fact we could have done this months and months and months ago, but decided not to.
I could put it in terms that Eric and I can relate to. Think about getting stop lost while you're in a deployment. You go, your deployment is to do this mission for 6 months. You go over there. At the end of the 6 months, you've expended all of your ammunition. Everything that you came to do is already done. And now they're going to say, hey, we're going to keep you another 6 months.
Right.
You're not prepared to do another 6 months. Now, over this time frame, they have sent up, they've sent up supplies and stuff like that. But that's after the fact. You have to adjust course after the fact. This wasn't planned. And then for them to say, oh, it wasn't political. Yeah, it was absolutely political. 100% political.
And
why would you play politics with keeping keeping people in space when you can bring them? Like, it's just stupid because you don't like Elon because Elon is behind Trump. So anything that has to do with Trump, you're just going to everything's bad just because it's involved with them. Trump comes out tomorrow and says, I have cured cancer. I will just be ready for the episode where we're like, hey, Chuck Schumer's like, hey, we really need cancer.
Right.
That's what we're going to need. Nancy Pelosi's like, hey, cancer is good. We need cancer. We don't need to get rid of that.
What scares me is I can't wait to see the lawsuits that come out from those two individuals, from the physiological damage that their body is undertaken being up there for 9 months. And it's been brought up, but I don't think people are really thinking about it. When you're in zero gravity for that long and now all of a sudden now you're back at Earth and then you have all the radiation that you're dealing with up there. How many years off these two people's lives, these two individuals, how many years off their lives is gone now? And that's an answer that we don't know, but we'll find out.
But they're back. They're back here on Earth. We have them with the Dolphins. I watched the entire thing of them coming down yesterday.
We were doing it live. We were doing it live while we were on One More.
I found it out, guys. I found it out. I'm sorry to interrupt. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Somebody put that in the chats, and I've never read that book. So,
very funny.
Loren threw it in there, and I saw you on the phone. I figured you were getting an answer. You were phoning.
Yeah, how to get the let me go back to. Unless you were in the middle of a thought, you can finish your thought. I apologize.
No, I was trying. I thought you had a phone call, so I was hoping.
No, you're good.
Land our word salad plane so we can wrap it up.
All right, I've got Armory Knight says the Earth is an egg. Tyler S says the Earth is square. That way everybody is right. Folk around and find out says nice, Tyler. Listen, I can go to Alaska and see Russia. 100% the Earth is round, says Murph 530. He's a hundo. He's a hundy on that one. Good for you, man. I wish I could be all in. I wish I could be all in on the theory. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I believe that the Earth, I don't know, man. Like all those images of the Earth, they do look very fake. They do look very fake. So who does really know? Also, what the frick is going on with Antarctica? Like, can you not go all the way around it? Like, is there land beyond it? I mean, that one pilot had some pretty telling tales, and he didn't really have any reason to lie back then unless it was batshit crazy. So I don't know. Again, 60. I'm still 60-40. Corn Pop says round, and feds make taxidermy animals with cameras and microphones. That is true. I actually saw one of these in the show's over, so now I have spaghetti brains. I have Joe Biden brain. Glenn Beck's museum, or Glenn Beck's private vault. I don't want to call it a museum, take away from it, but his private vault, he has one of these mounted taxidermy rat things that they had. Anyway, Falcon says round. Yeah, there we go. That's a yeah. Now you guys are all on to lizard people, and you guys are all on to trying to guess Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Loren had it right. Good for him. Good for him for knowing. And I don't remember. It was like Bebop Ziegeldorf was one of the names or something like that. I can't remember. I should. It
just makes me laugh when you say it.
30 years since I've read all that. All right, guys. Great episodes to catch up on. Listen, I honestly go back and listen to John Bates's episode. Leave us a 5-star rating or review. That is what keeps this show on the air, is those ratings and reviews. We need them. We're desperate for them. Please go to Spotify or iTunes. Play the show out, even if it's on mute, so that we get the algorithm kicking off. The show is growing. But the really good episode was called Biden Admin Exposed. Who cares? Biden administration exposed at last, but who cares? Fantastic, phenomenal episode. I encourage you all to go watch it. We are up to 34 ratings and reviews right now on Spotify. It's one of the hardest things to do in podcasting. Matter of fact, the other stuff I think has well over 4 million listens across the thing, but we have 1,200 reviews written. So reviews are always hard, right? Listeners don't want to to be that active. This is a free show. All we're asking, we're not even asking you to pay us. We're just asking politely if you would go and give us a 5-star rating review on Spotify or Apple. So yeah, on Apple, we have 34 reviews. I don't know how many we have on Spotify, but some of the reviews are good stuff. Keep it up, guys. I love the show. Fantastic topics. Leo here with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Awesome. Real news, not bad. Transy. Again, these are kind of older reviews. I'd love to get those updated. Please go and leave us a rating and review. Thank you, guys. G.I. Joe says it's the best. Maybe you didn't know about the JFK files being released or that the Secret Service ditched Hunter Biden. And we'll talk more about that. Join our Patreon. But now you do know, and knowing is half the battle. Take us out of here.